The one of one is missing.
I knew something was up.
Pop, that's almost twice as much going for the same price.
I just freaking love that rated rookie logo.
Doing more buying.
Which one of these 5 quarterbacks has the worst set of pass catchers to throw the football to?
Guess how much I sniped this for an auction?
Number 5, you dirty animal.
I'm telling you, these optic on-card autos are money.
Woo-wee! It's a nooffseason.com network. His name is Andy. My name is Carter. Of course, Andy moving and still fitting in shows and still giving the people what they want in the Football Card Patreon. A little bit later, one of our biggest offensive line flips I think I've ever seen. Offensive line cards? Are you freaking kidding me? But we'll talk about that and celebrating a federal holiday. We have a few viewers in here that aren't normally able to watch. A very happy Juneteenth to each and every one of you. Andy, our guy Brandon Aiyuk is on the thumbnail. And this was the guy that you on your national vlog last year flipped in front of many people. So I am still in on Brandon Aiyuk going into this next year with the San Francisco 49ers. And who knows, you might actually get traded.
Yeah, I think that the trade news, because right now, you know, the headline is he's frustrated with negotiations. And as T. Higgins signs his franchise tag, that's one more domino to fall. And I think you look at Brandon Aiyuk as a perfect trade candidate. So I'm very, very interested. Now, the team's going to have the money because Brandon Aiyuk, if you study his film, if you look at his analytics, he's played at a very elite level. He's a very versatile receiver. He could truly rival a lot of alphas in the league for that top receiver role on the team. So, and his card prices have kind of flatlined as a result of these frustrations and like just the hyper relevancy not being there. We're talking about, big time plays, highlights. A lot of the focus right now out of mini camps and OTAs are all around these rookies because they're the new shiny toy. They can be anything right now, right, Carter? I mean, there's a lot of speculation on who's going to be the next Puka Nacua this year or what have you. So it's Brandon Aiyuk has a little dip like this, but a lot of times when players get traded, they in fact have a larger price spike on their cards than if they actually just go out and play really well.
Right. And one thing to keep in mind is he and Jaden Daniels are really good friends. And that's kind of how this rumor got started. He had like a viral FaceTime with our guy JD5. And look, I could I see Washington doing something like that? I could, because I think Jahan Dotson sucks. He's just not good. And we know Terry McLaurin is good. And Jaden needs another weapon outside of just Terry McLaurin and the dust that is Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott. So, look, Luke McCaffrey might be the next great thing, especially when your last name is McCaffrey. We'll talk about genetics a little bit later on the show today, so stick with this. But if Brandon Aiyuk were to go to Washington, all the hype with Jaden and all that stuff would be absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I think it would. Washington doesn't have necessarily the biggest market, but all the press and media around Jaden Daniels right now is incredible. I mean, look at the throws and his footwork and everything coming out of camp. It's just like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be really good. So, yeah, I think it's exciting. You have a veteran there who also plays at a wide receiver one level, and Terry McLaurin, who could really show Brandon Aiyuk like the playbook and everything like really quickly. I mean, this could be an elite duo. So it'd be great for Jaden Daniels. It'd be great for Terry McLaurin. It'd be great for Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, regardless of the market size in Washington, they have a lot of fans. It's just, they've really been poo-pooed over the past, I would say 10 to 15 years. They've always just been like an afterthought of a team. whether, through the name changes and everything else, and the coaching changes, the ownership changes. And so now with new ownership, new coaches, new everything there in Washington, I think as we get closer to the season, the expectations and therefore the hype is going to continue to climb for this young team.
I'm all in, baby. Let's go. We are one day closer to the National. Let us know if you're going. At this point, I'm kind of 50-50. I know for sure Andy is going. Are you still planning it, Andy? Are you still locked in on Cleveland, Ohio?
I'm still locked in. Yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher now to fit in my schedule. I've had additional work travel slotted in, and with the move that I'm going through right now has actually been a lot more arduous of a task than it was initially planned out to be. So that is definitely taking more time than I expected. So, but as of right now, yeah, I'm still planning to at least go for like Friday and Saturday type deal.
So breaking news. Moving sucks. That is one takeaway you can have on this channel. Andy, one player I did want to discuss today, and I know we spent a lot of time last week talking about Jalen Hurts, but I want to go to another 2020 quarterback, and that is Tua Tagovailoa. As we move forward in that famous 2020 NFL draft class, the rookie quarterbacks in that class, all 5 of them have turned out to be pretty solid players in that first round. I have been labeled as the anti-Tua guy over the years that we've done this show, and I get it, totally get it. I still don't think he is all that great, but I am interested. He has lost some weight, and on top of that, he knows the offense, and I have been selecting him in underdog drafts, sometimes just with one stack partner. So I'm liking Tua going in to next year. Andy, what say you?
Yeah, I especially like the opening schedule as well. So I think Tua is one of those guys you can really profit on nicely at the beginning of the season. And it's a flip play for me. I look at Tua as another one of those guys. Like, again, this National is a great example of people that are concerned about his long-term outlook around his health and this and that. I mean, Tua is a perfect candidate to wear the Guardian caps during the season. I mean, what if Tua? You get where you get.
I do. That's an Amber Alert. My phone is on vibrate. The Amber Alerts go crazy. I swear to you, I had my phone on vibrate, and it still rings on the Amber Alert.
Good Lord, that was the loudest vibrate I think I've ever heard.
Dude, like from earlier. But no, I was legit just making some eggs and sausage this morning, and that happened. And it scared the bejesus out of me. And it's the same Amber Alert in a city that's an hour away from here. So, there's a great Supreme Dreams sketch on this. Like, does everyone expect me with the Amber Alert? I am the worst person to give an Amber Alert to. Like, it's not that I don't care. It's just I have no ability to fight. I have, I think the best weapon I have here are some toy nunchucks. I mean, I am not the person to go save little Timmy. I'm just not. Yeah, Andy, you're getting ripped now. You would be the guy to go get it.
Yeah.
But no, I am pro Tua. I am.
So yeah, and I look at his card prices right now, like, red rookie ticket auto out of 199, PSA 9 for 481, under $500. Here on average for Tua's rookie ticket auto, you're getting a really nice discount. So when you see rookie ticket autos going for under 500, around 500, that tells you like Optic Hollows and Prism Silvers, those other really liquid cards that they're going to be obtained closer to $100 or even less. And I'm talking PSA 10 condition. So those would be kind of some cards that I would definitely target for Tua. Like last year, I was able to target a green velocity optic rated rookie, which is a great color match to the Dolphins. It's got that laser design on the front, rated rookie logo. And then you add in the fact that it was a PSA 10, and I was able to pick that up for $150 cash. At the National, I offered, every single offer I made was, 75, 80% cash. And some guys were wanting to wheel and deal, make that money while they're there. And, so I took that one down and then turned around and sold it for $350 to $400. I think it was like $350 or $375, somewhere in there, after the first 3 weeks of the season. Not a long-term hold, a very short-term hold, but I think he's a great offseason target because on the totem pole of 2020 rookies right now, quarterbacks, I mean, he's probably number 5. But if you look at the schedule and the weapons and the coaching, the deployment there, I mean, yeah, the offensive line took some serious hits. But, I mean, is that really going to slow them down to the point where they're not putting up 50, 60 points on opponents early in the season and with this opening schedule, maybe starting off 2-0, 3-0, where all of a sudden Tua's got this crazy amount of hype again. Jalen Waddle just signed a big contract, so there should be plenty of talk between him and Tyreek Hill getting, in the kind of, I guess, the sunset golden ages of his career. And then you got some rookie hype there with Devon Achane and Jalen Wright and stuff. So yeah, man, I think it makes a ton of sense.
All right, so let's go to Card Vibe here, and he's got 2 different comments. Let's start with the bottom one. I'm going to the National. I saw you guys in the hallway outside trade night last year, but you were also busy. I didn't say hello. If you see us this year, he's going to stop us. So this has always been my policy on this, Andy. I actually had to release a statement on this on Twitter for my other stuff, my other YouTube job. If you ever see me in public, stop me. It's okay, right? It's okay if you stop me. Now, Andy, I don't know about you. Do you like to get stopped by the millions of paparazzi that follow you every single day?
Sure, man. Well, I think it would. I mean, if you were getting stopped by all the paparazzi and yeah, I don't know, man. That's tough to deal with. But no, I'd love to say hi to any fans of the Quest or any guys as part of our small circle, our small community here on YouTube, our 10,300 subscribers. I would love to meet each and every one of you at the National. Yeah, please feel free to stop me.
Yeah. Normally when I get stopped, I give a viewer something, right? Even though my main audience isn't as interested in football cards as this audience, I always carry LSU cards with me, and I'll give them out if I get stopped. So it is perfectly fine if you stop us. Now, if we're in the middle of a very, very, very intense deal, just give us 5 minutes or whatever. But other than that, more often than not, we're not. So please stop us, Card Vibe, this year. But he says, besides usual positions, I'm seeing running backs like Gibbs and Achane sell for well at Florida shows. So we've talked about Jahmyr Gibbs quite a bit on this channel. His prices are high. But Devon Achane, Andy.
Yeah, latest news on him. He wants to get more looks in the receiving game. I definitely think he will. Tua is definitely a guy that's not going to hesitate to dump it off, get it to his guy. I mean, Achane, there's no reason why Achane or Achane rather can't get open in the intermediate and short areas of the field. I mean, this guy is a menace. So if he continues to develop as a route runner, sure, he's going to demand more targets in that area. I mean, they're going to. That's what Mike McDaniels likes to scheme up, man. He likes to get his speed demons the ball in space, get the ball out of Tua's hands quickly, guardian cap or not, and get the ball into the hands of guys like Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane. This year, Jalen Wright's going to get involved. Jalen Waddle, Jalen Waddle actually, and Tyreek, they do a lot of those, and you study the film, Carter, but they do a lot of those crossing routes, more complex route schemes. And if the defense is playing some type of zone where they've got that locked down, even though you got two guys that are really good, obviously can beat any type of defense. But then A-Chain's going to get even more looks in the shorter area of the field, and that guy he's a home run hitter, man. He can score from anywhere.
All right.
It's just a matter of like, can he stay healthy? Hopefully, Jalen Wright takes a little bit of that, between him and Mostert, takes a little bit of that handoff workload off of him, so he lasts a little bit longer.
All right. So Matt Pat, like in sports cards and in underdog drafts, you get sniped, right? There's nothing worse than getting sniped. Well, I get sniped for my play of the week, which was going to be Khalil Herbert. But Matt Pat wants to discuss him now. And the reason why I'm not doing the normal tease to the very end is that Matt Pat, Andy, has been one of our most loyal viewers to the show. So, Matt Pat, we really appreciate your energy in the chat. Andy, Khalil Herbert is my play of the week. There is a piece of me that wonders if Khalil Herbert is better than DeAndre Swift right now. Probably not the case because, they did give DeAndre Swift a really nice contract. And you could also make a case, Andy, that the Bears get rid of Khalil Herbert because they have Roschon Johnson behind him. So this is why Khalil Herbert's my play of the week. There are some really sexy teams, Andy, that could desperately use another running back in their room, right? I think the Bengals are in the market to go get potentially another running back if one were to become available. One team that is desperately in the market for a running back right now, the Dallas Cowboys. And any person that gets sent to the Dallas Cowboys in that sexy offense is going to get a spike. We're talking about the biggest fan base in the world, outside of course, soccer teams. So Khalil Herbert is actually someone that I do like. I don't think he's transcended like Gibbs or HN or anyone like that. But his PFF numbers were actually really good last year. And I still think he has juice. So I think he could produce this year with the Bears, who I think are going to be a lot better. Or if they do cut him, he's going to get picked up really quickly by a good contending team. And you always want to take advantage of that new news spike. And I actually checked this morning, Andy, Khalil Herbert, you can get some good cracked dice stuff for a couple of bucks. So that is the direction that I would go with my play of the week. But since Mr. Matt Pat brought it up already, we'll discuss Khalil Herbert. Am I off on this, Andy?
Well, they got a pretty stacked running back room, and you got to wonder what they're going to do there. They got a couple guys on, they just spent money on DeAndre Swift, and then you've got Roschon Johnson on a rookie contract, and you got Khalil Herbert, who's been, like you said, very efficient. I mean, over 4 yards per carry since his rookie season, and then you look at his second year, 5.7 yards per carry, and then last year 4.6, and he got his largest sample size yet, 132 carries. And so I think this guy has not fully lived up to his true potential yet. He's been very efficient in the NFL. He's got good vision. He's pretty thick at his height of 5'9", 210. Looking at the rookie cards right here, because he was only a 6th-round draft pick, if you look on Trading Card Database, he's only got 943 different rookie cards from 2021, a year in which, they printed 5,000 plus for guys like Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, when I go back and look at these cards, most of these I would be like, okay, I'm going to buy raw, flip raw for Khalil Herbert on the news of him being traded, because that would be really big. People know him, like, dude, this guy has been a stud in Chicago. You can clearly see the values are at rock bottom, especially for the supply that he has. Prices are at rock bottom. So I love the play from that standpoint. You can even see a lot of people buying $5 and under, like college uniform leaf stuff. But check this out. I mean, this is a great indicator here. National Treasures, a premium brand. This is a top 3 brand. You could argue that this is the #1 brand in the football card hobby here. And it's a National Treasures, trying to pull it up, but it's a National Treasures out of 49 rookie auto. Does have a rookie auto on the sticker, but most of his are. that went for less than $35. I'm going to guess it didn't go for too much less. It probably went about $30 with free shipping. That is rock bottom prices here. And yeah, the running back market is alive and well. Just go look up what the top end of these draft classes running back rookie cards go for,
Right. And Andy, I'm anti running back when it comes to cards. What I would do is like, I mean, I if you crack the ice stuff or like these ice cool looking parallels, $3-4. I mean, sure. I'll take anything in color. Green laser, green velocity. Excuse me. I'm looking right now. Sold for $2. So yeah, I'm pro Khalil Herbert going into this next year, even if he goes to a new team. And I think the Cowboys are very much interested in not going into next year with Dusty, Ezekiel Elliott, and freaking Rico Dowdle. So T-Rock says, as a Bears fan, I'm not touching that backfield. There are too many mouths to feed. I do agree, but at that price, I'm willing to do something there. Matthew says,
Yeah.
what about Chase Brown going into next year, Andy?
I like Chase Brown. Actually, I find that Chase Brown, if you look at all the Bengals running backs right now, Chase Brown has arguably got the most hype. I mean, just from an athletic standpoint, this guy has a high speed score, much higher than with Zach Moss. Zach Moss is more of a plotter, more of a Khalil Herbert style running back, in fact. And he was incredibly efficient last year in Jonathan Taylor's stead, which earned him the bag in Cincinnati. But I got to expect a little bit of regression here. And plus, he doesn't have rookie cards in Bengals uniforms, whereas Chase Brown does. And so I like that. I also like the fact that this is a pass-heavy team, and Chase Brown features better as a pass catcher. And I like his speed better. He's more of a home run hitter. So honestly, the way I see it is like I like to especially when it comes to running backs, I like to attack the younger, more unknown guys that could potentially generate a bigger highlight reel on a per game basis, and Chase Brown to me is that guy for Cincinnati right now.
I'm trying to sort through the Bengals backfield. That's why, there is a piece of me that thinks that they're going to go out and get someone else. Even though most people do feel comfortable with Zach Moss, who's a really good shotgun runner, which is part of the reason why they went out there and got him. So Chase Brown, very interesting. Let's and Jason asked about Zach Moss as well. I like Zach Moss going into next year, and he's one of my favorite picks in underdog drafts right now. Both of the running backs in the Bengals backfield, I'm going to have a lot of exposure to because Joe Burrow at LSU really helps out his running backs, right? Just the way he runs offense, he'll check it down if he absolutely needs to. But the running game with Joe Burrow back there is always been so good. So I like it. And I love the fact that the Bengals offensive line will be better next year with the addition of Amarius Mims, who I think is really good.
Yeah, Joe Burrow convinced the Kansas City Chiefs to spend a first-round draft pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let's not let people forget that.
CEH, my guy. We say out of Brad Nolan. We also say out of Ruxy, who says, I really like Marvin Harrison Jr., and I would like to combo him with Kyler Murray rookie card. Can you show me a card of each for under $100 total for both that you would buy?
Yeah, so I would start with the quarterback, and obviously if we're talking under $100 total, and when we talk Kyler Murray, a lot of his stuff is graded. I mean, that was really when the grading market exploded. Kyler Murray is also, rookie of the year out of 2019, the number 1 overall draft pick. And so you go back to 2020. I mean, this is one of the most submitted guys to PSA in the entire hobby. So I like to go straight to the top brands for base cards like Prism, Optic, And then maybe I would look at some base Donruss PSA 10. You could probably snag one of those. But I mean, even just getting a base Prism. So this is probably what I would do here for under $100. I would go with a base Prism PSA 10. And looking at our chart here, even if we look at like a 2-year chart, let's go and look at where that kind of is now. I mean, somewhere around $40 to $45, even $50. I mean, I think you see his prices have actually gone up a little bit here,
Right.
Carter. But yeah, around $50, which you may have to pay more like $60 because you could see prices have gone up a little bit on Kyler. But his base Prism PSA 10 around 50. And then Marvin Harrison, you're going to have to attack a Bowman Chrome University first, and it's probably going to be raw, but we could probably get a refractor or serial numbered card from Marvin Harrison with Ohio State uniform, which interestingly enough, Carter, I mean, not to the color scheme there on those Ohio State uniforms is decently similar to the Cardinals.
Yeah. I still like going to get some Marvin Harrison stuff because of its very interesting situation. Even though I think my guy Malik Neighbors is better, Marvelous Marv, I can't wait to see what actually transpires here with the Fanatic situation. We discussed it a few weeks ago if you want to check it out. But yeah, I mean, Marvin has just so much Bowman stuff out there, even though he was just a Bowman first this last year.
Yeah, just a Bowman first this last year, but obviously they got him on that little 1-year deal here, and printed him pretty heavily in this 2023 Bowman Chrome University products. I would even look at something like this. It's serial numbered, so it's gonna stand apart. Like there's a huge difference between Bowman U first non-serial numbered and then Bowman U first serial numbered. And as you can see here, it's worth almost double, even though it's out of 399. I mean, this pink, there could be less than 400 copies. It could be considered a retail short print or just a short print, which, Panini standards is approximately 150 or so when they make a true short print. But you don't really know. That's why the serial numbered cards stand apart big time. I mean, big time. So that's what I would be looking for. Like, look, here's a yellow refractor out of 75 from Bowman's Best. Even that set, it's a cool looking card, and it's sold for somewhere around 30. So I'd be looking to get one of those as opposed to spending even $8 to $10 on the just a base refractor. I'd like to get something serial numbered so it stands apart from all these other cards. And even if it doesn't have the first logo, I would still take something with a nice design and chrome finish and a serial number over that. Like this one right here. Like I think that's a great deal. Someone got themselves a nice deal because this one is from Bowman's Best, Carter. It's got gold in the title. Whether it is or not, it's out of 50, sold for $20 in auction. And if you go up and you look at that last Bowman's Best right here out of 75, this one sold for 30 or more. I mean, it was at $40, best offer accepted. I'm sure he didn't get that big of a discount. So this one sold for 30 or more, and it's more common than the one that closed in auction for 20. So that one that closed in auction for 20 was an absolute steal, was a snipe. That person's going to be able to turn around and flip that card for probably 50 to 60 at least. And that's if the hype doesn't continue to climb, because we know supply is not increasing at all right now for Marvin Harrison Jr. The supply is only decreasing, and I think the demand is only going to increase for him. So yeah, that would be the play there. And look, you got out the door for right under $100.
Andy, we get a very interesting comment from Jim H, who's been active in the chat. He wants us to talk about Keon Coleman.
Oh boy, the big time person. I mean, this guy is making highlight reel catches in training camp left and right. I still like to pivot, man. I wrote up Khalil Shakir just the other week in my Auction Sniper article for premium members. because I think Khalil Shakir is the guy going under the radar that is now entering his third year. So he's still very much a rookie, still very much heading into his prime. And I look at the athletic profiles. I'm like, there's no guarantee that Keon Coleman is going to demand all these targets and command all these targets. I do think he's going to be a red zone threat. I think he's going to be able to win plenty of contested catch situations, but just the profile makes him look more of like an Allen Robinson type of player versus a guy that's going to cut up defenses and command the amount of targets that Josh Allen is actually going to be throwing. If you talk to like diehard Bills fans, I'd love to hear what our man Jay Kidd, Jay Van Castle feels about this. But Khalil Shakir is the guy out of Bills camp that they absolutely love. They can't stop raving about. Like, he's like the new veteran top receiver in the room. And even though Keon Coleman's the new flashy toy, just like they were about Dalton Kincaid last year. And maybe he does, rack up 5 to 7 touchdowns, and that's enough for Keon Coleman to get the hype that his prices are currently at. But Khalil Shakir is the guy that I see putting up 1,000, 1,200, maybe 1,500 receiving yards this year from a quarterback like Josh Allen, who's got super expensive rookie cards. He throws for over 4,000 every year. Somebody's going to step up and get a ton of targets and yardage from him. I think it's Khalil Shakir. Maybe Curtis Samuel too, Carter, but I like Khalil Shakir because he was drafted by the Bills. He's in Bills uniforms. He's got limited supply, and I think he's the guy that gets it done this year for them, like and just consistently.
Yeah, so I like Keon Coleman a lot. Andy, he is also a Louisiana guy. He's from Opelousas, Louisiana, which is 1 hour north of Baton Rouge. And he did not go to LSU. They didn't really go after him because in that same recruiting class, Andy, there was a guy named Malik Neighbors who barely got into LSU and a guy named Brian Thomas Jr. They were all in the same recruiting class, believe it or not. And, of course, they were all basically first-round picks. Keon Coleman is not the fastest guy in the world. And my thing for him is, outside jump ball receiver, he's probably the best in this class when it comes to that. But where his prices are, I was trying to get some Keon Coleman, but Andy, it's high. Like it's a lot of Leaf stuff for Keon, and it's going pretty high. And I'm a Leaf guy. As you know, Andy, but I'm just going to stay away from him. Is there a world where he is so freaking good he can win Rookie of the Year? Yeah, because he's always, silenced the doubters, if you will. But man, it's a lot for a guy who had a weird profile according to the analytics community, as you just mentioned. So this is a guy that I'm a little bit more willing to wait and see what's going to happen. Because if I'm seeing Leaf Autos all go for 40, 45, 50 bucks, it's just kind of tough for me to get there.
Yeah, or like his Panini Instant, for example, from the NFLPA Premier event. People are still waiting to receive these cards. This guy was able to buy these at volume from the Panini website. You got to remember, for about $5 a card, he sold 43 of them at $20 a pop so far. So from my experience, this $19.99 threshold for these Panini Instant cards is the top end of what this card goes for. But It will sell. I mean, this is what the hype does. And it takes very little media coverage on a rookie for the hobby to really kind of go wild on them. And, $19.99 doesn't seem like a whole lot when you get a licensed pro uniform card of the guy that you really want to collect, right? It does a lot for Bills fans. It does a lot for Keon Coleman collectors, and does a lot for guys that want to prospect and potentially flip Keon Coleman. But for this to go from $19.99 to $20 or I would say like $30 to $40, you're either going to have to get a grade and get a 10, or Keon Coleman is going to have to go out, week one and show that he is the guy, put up the multiple touchdown game with over 100 receiving yards. I think this will go up more, right? But it's going to take that. Anything outside of that, this card is just going to continue to sell where it's at. And that's what it is, So I look at Keon Coleman already. His market has hit the upper threshold for where they're at. So just from a flipping standpoint, it leaves me with no room to make any profit. So I'm going to pivot and buy the guy that's like going to be the more what I think is the more consistent producer there, and that's Khalil Shakir.
There we go. I think I've been
for $10 more, Carter. I'm getting a rated rookie autograph rookie card of Khalil Shakir
in Bill's uniform.
In Bill's uniforms.
I feel like I'm drafting too much Khalil Shakir in underdog drafts. I might just got carried away with how well he was in the playoffs last year for the Bills. Andy, I feel like I am putting too much weight on playoff performances. So Khalil Shakir had that ridiculous touchdown catch versus the Steelers. Like literally one of the best run after catch touchdowns you'll see in the playoffs. And then if Josh Allen didn't get knocked off his spot by Chris Jones, Khalil Shakir would have had the game-winning touchdown to beat the Chiefs. It was wide open. It was a great route. And I don't know. I feel like I'm overrating him, but now that you say that's a play, you're making me feel better about my underdog investments. And by the way, go sign up on Underdog, promo code Carter or promo code Quest for that deposit match bonus. Before we get to this next question, I want to shout out nooffseason.com. All of my channels are under the nooffseason.com umbrella, as is Andy's now. So shout out nooffseason.com. And Andy, you can go sign up there and join our card Patreon.
Yep, you sure can. And also shout out to cgccards.com. They still have their bulk submission for $9 and it's actually, $11. It's $11 per card right now. But the max value per card is $1,000. And that's on the raw card of the most recent transaction. Or if you can't find a recent transaction on the card, then you put what you paid for it. I mean, that's literally how their max declared value works. It's not like PSA where you've got to put in the PSA 10 value of what that card would sell for to make sure that you don't get bumped into a higher tier, and you make sure that you get the right amount of insurance and everything back, guys. CGC is a great company backed by the largest coin and paper grading companies in the world, and they've been grading sports cards since 2021. Their holders are crystal clear, extremely durable plastic. I can speak from video experience that their plastic is the best on the market, besides, one of these niche grading companies that puts their cards in like Gorilla Glass and stuff, but yeah, right now, bulk submission, 25 card minimum, $11. Their base 1 card submission up to $1,000 is $14 per card. So shout out to cgccards.com.
CGC to the moon. I freaking love it. So there you go. Now, time for hobby tip of the week. Andy, I'll let you go first.
My hobby tip this week is right now is a great time to actually sell vintage. We don't talk a whole lot about vintage football on the channel, but historically, this time of the year, if you just go on eBay right now and type in football cards and look at the recently sold items, there are a lot of people buying vintage cards right now. And it's because the off season gives people a chance to reflect, and without the hyper relevancy on a week to week, NFL schedule basis, guys start looking at like, who do they want to add to their collection that's from the Hall of Fame classes, the vintage guys, the old timers now, who do they want to add in there? And so we see a ton of vintage, and it's not just vintage cards, right? Because a lot of vintage cards, you go back to the 80s, 70s, 60s, there's really only 1 to 3 different variations of a card for a player. And it's really about chasing a grade. How high of a grade can I afford? How good of a condition can I get of that old card? go look at the vintage players, the Hall of Fame players, the Roger Staubachs and the Walter Paytons and stuff, and look at their sales on modern sets, case hits, or even mid 2000s. Go look at, game worn patches. Carter right here is a game worn patch connoisseur. And so go look at some of those upper deck exquisites. People are still rolling those out in auction. There's a much higher demand right now for vintage players and vintage cards. I would definitely take advantage of that higher demand and look to sell, wheel and deal, maybe add some to your collection if you find a good deals. But it's a great time to actually sell vintage right now.
Yeah, Andy, as you know, I still love doing modern cards, but that's where I am. Game worn patches of the legends, and I'm always looking to buy quarterback patches. That's where I spend most of my card money now. I got a few hobby tips. Let's start with Flutes Rippin'. It looks like Flutes Rippin' is a first-time commenter. Has Flutes Rippin' ever been on any of your other streams, Andy?
I don't recognize Flutes Rippin'. No. Welcome, Flutes Rippin' to the quest, man.
Yeah, and there we go. Hope you stick around. So this was actually something, and this wasn't my hobby tip. I got a few other ones, but this is actually something I actually saw on Facebook where PSA actually had some Facebook post, and I'm always going to be semi-loyal to PSA, but I've voiced my displeasure plenty of times, and there was someone that commented under a pretty big PSA Facebook post this exact question, Andy. He sent in an SGC 10. All right, it was an SGC 10 and an SGC Auto 10. And first off, I asked the guy, why did you do this? And he said he had a collection. He was collecting a rainbow, and it was like a gold number to 10, and he wanted all of them to be in PSA slabs. So he was hoping SGC, which by all accounts, Andy, has tougher grading standards in PSA. Have you heard the same?
Yeah. I mean, generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah, it is very well known that PSA's grading standards are lower, right? BGC grades harder, and so on and so on and so on. And this person looked at the card. It was pristine, SGC 10. Those are hard to get, and it didn't cross over. It crossed over to a PSA 9. And so he received the card back raw, even though it was in an SGC 10 holder. So here's my question to you, Andy. If you are even the most PSA loyalist out there and you want all your cards in PSA slabs, I am never taking a card out of a slab if it is in a CSG, an SGC, or a BGS holder. If that says 10 on there, there's just not a situation where I'm taking that card out. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. Yeah. You run the risk of damaging the card. You run the risk of, it's a coin toss. Like, what, you're in a 10 grade. It's a reputable grading company. Maybe you're going to lose a couple dollars on the resale, but all those companies are going to be respected for their 10s, and it's not going to be like just some fly-by-night grading company, where it's like, I've never heard of that. Why should why should I care that it's a 10 in that? These are all reputable grading companies.
Right. And even though we're very open that CSG supports Andy, we'll never just for the sake of it, just trash the other grading companies or whatever. But, I just don't know if I'm ever taking a SGC 10 out. Now, this is a very interesting comment from Tom. PSA also purchased SGC, so they should honor their grading. I'd heard rumors about this, but is this actually an official thing, Andy?
I've heard the same rumors you have, but you're right. I would expect a more official announcement, but I don't know that I've seen it yet.
Yeah. So once again, I haven't seen it yet either, so that might be official. Someone can correct us. But you see, Flutes Rippin' makes a point. It's just that the PSA 10s go for so much more than the SGC 10s. Well, If your goal is to make the absolute scorchingly highest amount of money off your cards, then sure, go for it. But you're also, Andy, that's part of the risk. You're risking the money for the crossover. You're also risking the time for PSA to cross over the card. So I just have never understood that. I can understand wanting to get a regrading a PSA 9 and trying to get a PSA 10. I can understand doing a BGS 9.5 trying to get a PSA 10. I understand that. But an SGC 10 to a PSA 10, I don't know if I would ever do that. But
I mean, but the one thing I will say in favor of flutes is I would do it yourself, and this is why SGC slabs are very easy to crack open. You could literally do it with a flathead screwdriver and just run that thing around the edge. They made, I don't know why, it's a design flaw. The way they made SGC slabs, you can pop those things open so easily without any risk to the card. I don't know how they would do it at the PSA off grading office, but it's super easy for you to do it at home. And I get why you're trying to do it, right? I mean, so chances are it's still going to be a coin toss though when you go to submit that. So that's the problem with it. It's still going to
yeah,
be a coin toss. Like you get the right grader on the right day at PSA and you're getting a 10, but otherwise, you still have a 50-50 chance of it getting a 9, to be honest with you. I've seen plenty of them 10s get sent to PSA, get 9s. And sometimes it seems like there's no rhyme or reason, but I think it's a very subjective it's a very subjective business that PSA has. So
yeah. So Bob and a few others have confirmed 007 Crypto Nut as well. PSA did purchase SGC. So I'm interested on how all of that actually works. So before we get to the next hobby tip, our policy is if you super chat, we go straight to it. Let's go to small Zizzy. I have a tons of high-end 2023 rookie QBs, CJ or Levis Young. When should he sell them?
well, I would sell them when you get the desired profit you're looking for. Chances are, if you got a lot of high end of these guys, we could be talking high end Prism. Maybe some of the new optic that's been released. Yeah, I'd love to see exactly what cards you have, but obviously you've got CJ. You can sell him right now for an insane profit. I
Yes.
would be maybe going to a card show, maybe looking to make a big deal with these dealers. I was at a card show the other week, and I saw one of the dealers buying a ton of 2023 slabs. It was Anthony Richardson, it was Bryce Young, it was CJ Stroud, there was other skill position players off of this guy. So that was he wasn't a dealer. He was at the show with his collection, with his box, and he made this huge sale to this dealer. So I would say you could sell those guys now, but we have not seen the top end of the market yet for Anthony Richardson. Certainly not Will Levis, and definitely not Bryce Young. I think those guys have a lot of potential that they can realize here in September. And I would be looking to hold those guys and sell them in September, closer to the season.
Yeah.
I would be selling CJ now, though, because, I mean, his price is sky high. Everybody wants CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I would definitely move some CJ now. Let's say like you have 10 CJ Stroud cards. I would sell probably 6 of them and make your money back because he is probably the hottest name in the NFL right now. You have the youth. You have the year 2 coming up. You obviously have more sets coming out. So, yeah, I would definitely do that. Also, something else, small Zizzy, is young, relevant quarterbacks move at card shows better than anything else outside of Jordan, LeBron, and the A-listers. But a lot of those guys, a lot of you know who those guys are. But year 2 quarterbacks always move well. It was insane at the National last year how many people wanted year 2 quarterbacks or just young quarterbacks. So I would also seriously consider taking it to card shows because it's not, and we talked about this plenty of times, Andy. A lot of my collection is not card show cards. I collect very specific, weird-ish kind of cards. But there are card show cards, cards that everybody wants. Bowman U baseball prospects. Everyone's always going to be interested in that. Young NBA stars, Ant Edwards, Luca. People are always going to be interested in that. And young quarterbacks, Andy. That's what we went through the Mac Jones thing. We went through the Zach Wilson thing. So I would seriously go to the card show, and you might get 100% comps cash. So you're getting more EV out of your little convoy there. For like eBay and stuff like that, though, you have that's where you want to sell your sleeper running back, your Khalil Herbert that we talked about a little bit earlier. So Small Zizzy, here's what I'll do: since you super chatted, follow me on Twitter at Card of the Power or Instagram, and I'll give you a one-on-one consultation. I'll give you my absolute best. So we appreciate you supporting Andy. And another thing you could do, you donate $5. That's almost what it costs per month to be a part of our Patreon. So go sign up there. And if you want to connect with me on there, I'll happily do that. Let's go to Ruxy here, Andy.
Yeah, it's perfect because if you sign up for the Patreon, you get access to the Discord. And in the Discord, you could post a picture of a card, and we'll tell you what grading company it is. We'll help you price out cards. We'll, help determine price points at which you want to buy at. It's just overall a great community.
Yeah, and Hector follows up. Hector knows as much about cards as pretty much anyone I've met through here. Liquid sells well at shows. Silver's easy for dealers to price. Ruxy, the link is down below, or you can go to patreon.com/footballcards. And once again, if you guys have any questions about that, my Instagram, I always respond to messages at Carter the Power is where you can find me. Let me get to my other two hobby tips of the week. Shout out to Tim in the Discord. He bought a Lane Johnson rookie card for $20, sold it for $150. So offensive linemen, they tend to get re-signed, Andy, by their original team. So a lot of their rookie cards are going to be in their the uniform of the team that they were selected by. We always know that their supply is going to be low, offensive line cards. And you really just got to find the right buyer. Once again, you're not going to move that at a card show, but on eBay, there's some Lane Johnson collectors out there. So shout out to Tim. And my other hobby tip of the week, Andy, is genetics. All right, we don't talk about genetics enough in sports. So the player that we talked a lot about today is Marvin Harrison Jr. Andy, Jerome Bettis' son is about to start playing at Notre Dame. Jerome freaking Bettis. So there was a viral photo. Jerome Bettis, Plaxico Burress, and Ike Taylor's son is they're all going to Notre Dame and they'll play at the same time, which is insane. So I've noticed this. It seems like there's even more sons of legends that are like the elite athletes, like Jason Tatum's dad played in the NBA, and so on and so on and so on. It's always been the case. But I think that's coming to the NFL. The number one rated prospect for the class of 2026, Andy, do you remember a wide receiver named Chris Henry? He played for the Bengals. He passed. He passed away, and his son is a freaking baller. Chris Henry Jr. Is an absolute baller. So, Andy, it's always interesting with genetics because we talk about cards and nostalgia all the time. It's so cool for like collectors to tell their sons, "Hey, I grew up watching that dude's daddy play." So it's interesting.
Dude, that's exciting. And I think we are seeing that more and more. Like this year alone, we had quite a few players enter the NFL that are all like younger siblings or sons of former NFL players, like good players, like, Marvin Harrison or Luke McCaffrey or Brendan Rice, like, I mean, like ton of them, dude. And we're seeing these every year. I think it's getting more and more because it's almost like that generation that was great in the 90s, early 2000s, their children are now entering, and they've been like, where they've been dedicating a large portion of their life and time to the craft from a very early age, and also with modern sports training techniques and programs and everything. So it's exciting. I think we're going to definitely see here this next, like, next few years, some super athletes come out that are going to be clear Hall of Famers and everything.
Like, if Brendan Rice is actually good, sleeper with Justin Herbert in LA with the Harbaugh, I talk about, brothers and siblings and all that stuff. Could you imagine if, like, let's just say Brendan Rice is him. Let's just say he's not Justin Jefferson level, but let's just say he's like Terry McLaurin level good. Like, do you know, like, how cool Jerry Rice and Brendan Rice dual auto cards would be? That would be abso-freaking-lutely insane. And you could see, a resurgence in Jerry Rice's stuff. But Andy, before we get to plays of the week, I'll let you take whichever comment you want to next as we wrap things up here.
Yeah. I have to scroll back here, check out with the chat, man. The chat's been lit today. Now, I appreciate you guys, all the supports, and especially as these last 2 weeks, I have not been able to keep up with the same level of content output that I'm used to as I'm, transitioning to a new house and everything in my move. So I'll definitely get back there, but I really appreciate you guys, being patient with me and everything. And support the channel.
Jabroni Card says, go look at the gym rates. And he says, cracking, because he's cracked all the brands and the data is equal across brands. I say that because he's not had good luck with HGA, which everyone considers the hardest graders, believe it or not, is the hybrid grading folks. So yeah, I would, if you're going to crack, I would go look at gym rates and all of that. So
for sure. Yeah. That's important. That's important because certain cards from certain sets that have a much higher gem rate than others. And we do see that when there's issues with 2021 Prism, for example, it's not just PSA that has a super low PSA 10 hit rate on that card. It's SGC and CGC as well. So, and BGS, and so those kind of things do carry across the board. It's just, you have more nines, or vice versa, more 10s come out of PSA that you're like, how did this card get a 10? There's like clear, like obvious flaws even to the naked eye that it shouldn't have got a 10, but sometimes it happens. So they just, and it's one of those things.
All right. So Andy, I gave my play of the week out earlier with Khalil Herbert, because I think there's a higher likelihood he gets moved. And I think, once again, I know nothing, but I know the Cowboys definitely want to get another running back. Andy, your play of the week is?
Yeah, right now I do have a. I'll just give it. So I think this is a really slick play here for the Minnesota Vikings. We talked about Khalil Herbert. We talked about running backs that are drafted, like Zach Evans, or excuse me, not Zach Evans. He's a bust, but Zach Moss for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Chase Brown. It's Chris Evans that's also on that depth chart, who pretty much seems like a bust, but Chase Brown, who I think is the guy on Cincinnati that will probably get the most hype here early on. So I look at the Minnesota Vikings, and I really like Ty Chandler. I want to go back to buying Ty Chandler on the Minnesota Vikings because he was that guy that's drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. And even though the Vikings brought in Aaron Jones, this is a very friendly, like high scoring, high octane offense, very friendly environment for running backs here, especially with the wide receiver weapons there in Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson. So Ty Chandler, the reason why he's going to have standalone value is because Aaron Jones is not going to be able to sustain more than a 50, 60% workload max. And with the rate at which he's getting banged up now, the Minnesota Vikings have got to understand this. And I think that Aaron Jones' workload could be even more situational. And I think Ty Chandler is the guy they look at as a expendable asset that they want to get more out of on his rookie contract. So I think Ty Chandler this year is going to have an even bigger role. And I love the profile of Ty Chandler, man. He featured really well in his limited time last year, 4.5 yards per carry on 102 rush attempts, but he also put up 21 receptions, 159 receiving yards. So I think he's got a lot of potential that's untapped, and Carr's very cheap. And so Ty Chandler is one of those guys early on with the whole Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy hype, Justin Jefferson get the mega contract. I mean, a lot of eyeballs on the Vikings for good reasons. They're going to be a fun team to watch. Kevin O'Connell is an incredible play caller there, and I'm buying some Ty Chandler while he's cheap right now.
All right. So we got 2 NFC North running backs for plays of the week. You quarterback-only card people can suck it. We freaking love RBs here. We talked about offensive linemen. We talked about QB. We talked about only we didn't talk about was defense. We'll get to that next week. So, Andy, thank you so much. As you go through your moving phase here, please go join us. NoOffSeason.com is where you can join us, or you can just go to patreon.com/footballcards. We want to shout out CGC. Check it out, CGC.com. And we'll see you next week, y'all.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Boom, boom.